Have you ever wondered how three men, all experienced sailors, could simply vanish from a perfectly good boat in the middle of calm seas without a single trace? It's a question that feels like it belongs to a bygone era, to the age of wooden ships and uncharted waters. But this story is modern. It's a story about a pristine white yacht found drifting aimlessly off the coast of Australia. The engine was still running, a laptop was still on, and a half-prepared meal sat waiting on the table. The only thing missing was the crew. The Kaz II was a beautiful, nearly 10-meter-long catamaran, and for its owner, a 56-year-old man named Derek Batten, it was the realization of a lifelong dream. Derek, who went by the nickname Des, had spent years working hard, saving his money, all with the goal of buying a boat just like this and sailing it up the picturesque coast of Australia. He wasn't a novice. He had been sailing for years and knew his way around the water. He was meticulous, a planner, the kind of person who double-checks everything and leaves nothing to chance. For this particular journey, a trip from Airlie Beach up to Townsville, and then eventually all the way around to his home in Western Australia, he wasn't going alone. He had invited two of his neighbours and good friends to join him, Peter and James Tunstead. The Tunstead brothers, aged 69 and 63, were also experienced on the water. They had owned boats, they had fished, they had sailed. This trip wasn't some reckless adventure into the unknown. For these three men, it was supposed to be a relaxing, enjoyable voyage between friends. A well-earned reward after decades of hard work. They were prepared. They had all the right safety gear, plenty of food and water, and a modern, reliable vessel. There was absolutely no reason to think this trip would be anything other than perfectly routine. And on the morning of Sunday, April 15th, 2007, under clear blue skies, the Kaz II pulled away from the dock at Airlie Beach and headed out into the Coral Sea. It was the last time anyone would see them alive. 3 days later, on April 18th, a helicopter was flying a routine patrol over the Great Barrier Reef. The pilot wasn't looking for anything in particular, just scanning the vast, blue expanse of the ocean. Then they saw it, a white catamaran, drifting. It wasn't sailing in a straight line. It seemed to be pushed along by the wind and the current, its sails in tatters, flapping violently in the breeze. From the air, it looked odd, uncontrolled. The pilot tried to make radio contact, hailing the vessel again and again, but there was no response, just silence. The helicopter crew noted the location and name of the boat, the Kaz II, and reported it. The next day, maritime authorities dispatched a boat to investigate, but by then, the Kaz II had drifted further into a restricted military zone. It wasn't until Friday, April 20th, a full 5 days after it had left port, that officials were finally able to board the yacht. And what they found would only deepen the mystery. As they stepped onto the deck, the first thing they noticed was an unnerving sense of stillness, a scene frozen in time. The engine was still running, idling smoothly. Down in the cabin, it was as if the crew had just stepped away for a moment. A laptop was open on a table, still powered on. Nearby, a half-eaten meal was set out, with forks and plates still in place. Newspapers were laid out, and video camera footage, later recovered, showed the men happy and relaxed just hours into their journey. All their personal belongings were there. Wallets, phones, keys, even their fishing lines, one of which had a fish on the end of it, were still neatly arranged. Everything was exactly where you'd expect it to be. The boat was in perfect working order. There was no damage, no signs of a fire, no indication of any kind of emergency. The only things out of place were those shredded sails, which suggested the boat had been left adrift for some time. But the crew, the three men, Des Batten, Peter Tunstead, and James Tunstead, were gone. The more investigators looked, the more impossible the situation seemed. There were absolutely no signs of a struggle, no overturned furniture, no blood, nothing to suggest a fight or an attack by pirates, which was an early theory quickly dismissed by police. There were no distress calls. The boat's radio was in perfect working order, but no one had used it to call for help. The emergency position indicating radio beacon, the EPIRB, hadn't been activated. This device is designed to be set off in a dire emergency, and it sends a signal to satellites, pinpointing your exact location for rescue. It was still in its bracket, untouched. The life jackets were all neatly stowed away in their proper compartments. The boat's inflatable life raft was also still in its storage position, unused. It was as if 3 men on a calm day in the middle of a routine trip had decided to simply vanish into thin air, leaving everything they owned behind. Investigators were baffled. They walked through the scene again and again, trying to piece together a logical sequence of events, but nothing made sense. How could 3 experienced sailors all disappear at the same time, without taking any safety equipment, without making a single call for help from a boat that was perfectly sound? Every single piece of evidence only added another layer to the confusion. It was a complete and utter blank. A functioning boat, a calm sea, and 3 missing people. The facts just didn't add up. A massive search and rescue operation was launched almost immediately. Planes, helicopters, and boats from the Australian military and emergency services scoured over 200 square nautical miles of ocean. They searched day and night, hoping to find the men clinging to debris or perhaps stranded on a nearby island or reef. But they found nothing. Not a single trace of Des, Peter, or James. It was as if the ocean had simply swallowed them whole. The search was eventually called off, leaving the men's families in a state of agonizing uncertainty. They had no bodies to mourn, no answers to explain what had happened, just a ghost ship and 1,000 unanswered questions. The official coroner's inquest, held a year later, could not determine a definitive cause for the men's disappearance. The coroner speculated on a possible freak accident, a series of unfortunate events that might have led to them all ending up in the water. One theory suggested that one of the brothers, perhaps James, got a fishing line tangled in the propeller and fell overboard while trying to free it. Then his brother Peter might have jumped in to save him. Seeing his 2 friends in trouble, Des, the skipper, might have turned the boat around to help them, but in a moment of panic, he too ended up in the water. Without anyone left to control it, the boat, with its engine still idling, would have slowly drifted away, leaving the 3 men behind, lost in the vastness of the ocean. It's a plausible theory, but it's just that. A theory. There's no evidence to support it. The families of the men have never fully accepted it, finding it hard to believe that 3 experienced men would all make such basic mistakes. And so, the mystery endures. The ocean holds its secrets tightly, and the fate of the crew of the Kaz II remains one of its most chilling ones. In the years since its discovery, the story of the Kaz II has been told and retold, earning it the title of the modern-day Mary Celeste, like that infamous ship found adrift and deserted in the 19th century. The Kaz II serves as a stark reminder of how quickly and completely people can disappear, even in our modern world of GPS and advanced technology. The boat itself was eventually returned to port, a silent, empty vessel that held the last moments of 3 men's lives. It was a perfectly normal boat, except for the fact that its story is anything but. The Kaz II kept sailing, but the people aboard were never seen again. That is going to do it for today. But if you enjoyed this story, be sure to check out our channel right here. We're going to be dropping stories every week, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. I really appreciate you guys spending your time here with me today. Until next time, from Silent Secret Stories, every secret has a story.